puns.
We're having so much fun doing dog puns and egg puns and everything. I couldn't resist that. Thank you for the kind chuckles. I appreciate
Always
that.
have time.
Yes, appreciate that. You know, I'm so impressed with this bill. Not only the everything behind it, of course, particularly Richard's push inside the administration and advocacy inside the administration, and the PUC responding, and of course all the energy-oriented groups, nonprofit and the utilities and everyone understanding how important this is. But the legislative activity on this, as embodied in the language of the bill itself, shows, I think, real insight and attention and perseverance in citing legislative intent, which is the key to everything when a bill finally comes out. Because a lot of times the language itself, the actual direction in terms of the language is supposed to be, and a lot of times isn't necessarily connected to the preambles and the legislative intent. It's a tricky business to try and take good intentions and then turn it into language that can really command the capacity to fulfill whatever that legislative mission is. And in this particular instance, I just think it's really impressive. In the premium, we want to refer, especially those folks who are covering this today and may not have covering it for a broader public. You may not have had the opportunity to really read through the bill itself, because there'll be plenty of commentary like mine right now, and perhaps some of the others that get a chance to speak here in a couple of minutes about it. But just read this, and what you see is a legislature in action that has zeroed in on an issue, considered it with all of the attention it deserves, listened to the various constituent groups, and then put this together. Just the legislature finds that building Hawaii's clean energy infrastructure at the lowest possible cost is vital to the state's reaching its 70% clean energy goal in 2030. It finds that significant investment in infrastructure installations is required to achieve the state's goal. It's interesting, it's required, not as useful, or it's required. It zeroes right in it. The goals of greater energy self-sufficiency, greater energy security, and greater energy diversification, and to support the achievement of renewable portfolio standards and energy efficient portfolio standards as established in Chapter 269. Further, these infrastructure installations will require significant amounts of capital, and it is in the public interest to minimize these costs. A key component to minimizing costs is reducing the cost of capital required to finance infrastructure installations. This is just beautiful. It just unfolds sentence by sentence as to exactly what the situation is. There's nothing peripheral in this. There's nothing in the way of elaboration that doesn't contribute to the idea. The legislature further finds the upfront costs of green infrastructure equipment are a barrier to preventing many electric utility customers from investing in this infrastructure. And let me just take this off. Existing programs and incentives do not serve the entire spectrum of the customer market, particularly those customers who lack access to capital or cannot afford the large upfront costs required, thus creating an underserved market. It is in the public interest to make cost-effective green infrastructure equipment options accessible and affordable to customers in an equitable way. A green infrastructure financing program administered by the state that capitalizes on existing ratepayer contributions for green infrastructure equipment can serve a critical role in ensuring all Hawaii electricity ratepayers receive the greatest opportunity for affordable and clean energy. And then goes on to describe throughout the rest of the bill exactly how that will be done. I think this is as good a summary of what good legislation is all about and how it should work in a free society as you can find anywhere in the country. Not only is this bill, I think, the green infrastructure bill, putting us in the forefront of consumer-oriented alternative approaches to energy costs and infrastructure. I think it puts us right in the front of the nation. There's no question in my mind about that. But as a bill, this is a case study for any student out there who wants to understand the legislative process. You know, like when we take the kids in here and say how a bill becomes a law, you know, that kind of thing. We should go in how an issue becomes a bill, and then how a bill becomes a law. You could do a master's or a PhD on this as to the origins of it, how it worked, what the exchanges were in terms of conversations and dialogue, what the inspirations were, how it worked institutionally, both from the executive side, the legislative side, and from the community side. It's just masterful, and it's a genuine pleasure for me to be able to sign this bill today, to take the executive authority that's vested in the governorship, and to be able to say I'm confident, no matter whatever happens to me in terms of the judgment of my career in politics, let alone as governor. This is going to be a highlight and a high point for me. I'm absolutely confident. And I'll be delighted to bask in reflected glory when this thing takes off and it works well. It's always a pleasure to take credit for everybody else's work. And but I could say I was cheerleading all the way along, right, Richard? Wasn't I cheerleading? See, he's got to say yes, because otherwise I won't let him speak. And I think I've probably preempted Richard's remarks with a lot of the things that I've said, and I want to reiterate the beginning of my remarks about how my enthusiasm for this and my sustained interest in it was because of Richard's work and because of Chair Morita's leadership on the institutional side. There's so many people that contributed to this. I'm going to ask the chair of the PUC and Richard to say a few words, and we'll certainly take pictures with everybody. And if anybody feels the desire, we'll take a Quaker approach to the bill. If anyone desires to stand up and share something, I'll certainly have them do that. But and the only reason I'm not inviting everybody else up, I mean to do the speaking, is because literally everybody in this room has had the word significant is a significant share in bringing this bill to fruition. There's no observers in this room right now. There are no observers. Everybody in this room has been a participant in this. It's really remarkable, and it's such a pleasure. And with that, I'm going to invite Richard to come up and Chair Morita to come up and share anything that they'd like to say before we sign the bill.
Well, thank you, Governor. As usual, the Governor's pretty much said it all. But thanks to his leadership and that of the legislature.
You can see how our meetings go.
But thanks to the leadership of the Governor and the legislature, this new financing program called GEMS, for Green Energy Market Securitization, will make solar affordable for the thousands who have been waiting to join Hawaii's solar revolution. GEMS opens the door for a whole new financing market for renewables and, let's not forget, energy efficiency. And it's going to have broad national implications. We've already received calls from a number of states, and including the President's Hurricane Sandy Task Force. I want to learn more about this program. So we're quite excited about the national implications. Through GEMS, we hope to promote the democratization of clean energy.
Yes, that's a great thing. Isn't that
great? And make it open to a much broader segment of the community than has been afforded the opportunity to date. We haven't finalized the plans yet, but we're going to focus initially on 3 key underserved markets. Those homeowners who have not been able to afford or qualify for a lease or loan. Secondly, nonprofits such as churches. And third, the rental market, which is really the holy grail of underserved markets. This landmark legislation, as you might well imagine, was incredibly complex and could not have been created or approved or passed without the help of many of you in this room. And there's so many, as the Governor mentioned. I have to highlight a few, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. First of
Go
all,
ahead
there's-
and insult everyone that you meet. I want you to do it, not me.
that's why we're here, right? So there's our energy chairs, Senator Gabbard and Chris Lee. Thank you for your support. And of course, our consumer protection chair, Angus McKelvey. And then we have, of course, Mina Morita from the PUC, as well as the other commissioners. Jeff Ono, who is an avid supporter, as well as Louis Alvaria from the Budget and Finance, who really helped with the bond issuance. It's a very, very complex issue, and thank you, Louis. And from the community, Robert Harris where's Robert?
He's over there.
Robert was like with us at every step of the way, as was Jeff Nicolina from the Blue Planet, and Leonard Hoshijo from the Carpenters Union, as well as where's Murray Clay from Bulacono. And not to forget Sherry Menor from the Chamber of Commerce and Alan He from Hawaiian Electric. Thank you, Alan. So it's not often you get such a broad community support where you have the unions, business, and the environmentalists all holding hands behind one legislation. So we're really appreciative. But finally, I'd like to acknowledge Tracy Ho Kim and Tanya Chen. Who really did the heavy lifting on this legislation. When I first proposed it to the governor, he saw Tracy and Tanya, and he said, let them take the lead, and the advice was well taken. And
That's because the rest of us sat there and listened while they explained in detail and with incredible clarity and conciseness exactly what was the issue, how it should be addressed, what they thought would be the way forward, and how it could be completed. They're really a dynamic duo, and their abilities and capacities to see an issue and see it through is really remarkable. And we in Hawaii are extraordinarily fortunate to have their talents available to us.
you know, in closing, it's one thing to have an idea, which I think this is a great idea, but it really takes a team to bring it to fruition. And thankfully, at the Energy Office, thanks to Mark Lick, we have a great team. Thank you.
Stay here, Richard. Go ahead, Mina.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here today to be part of this ceremony. And what I wanted to stress is that we all know that in Hawaii, we're at the forefront, the national forefront on our policies such as renewable portfolio standards, energy efficiency portfolio standards, the public benefit fee, the solar water heater mandate. And today, with the signing of this measure, we address another critical component to facilitate the transformation to a clean energy economy and financing addressed to a really innovative structure. And I appreciate you naming all of the people in this room that have participated. And it really was a team effort being led by the DBEDT staff and Richard. But I'd be really remiss if I didn't also acknowledge the amount of work that the PUC staff and commissioners have done. So Commissioner Chapley, Commissioner Akiba, our Chief Counsel, Kat Awakuni, Marissa Sakuda, Sean Michael, and missing from this picture is Jay Griffin, who is on vacation right now, but put in tremendous amount of work and responded every time Tracy called, whether it was a weekend, late at night. And the legislature working with us as we went through every single detail and every single reiteration of the bill. And of course, all of the advocates, the utilities, the environmental groups, the union, as Richard said. But what I wanted to point out is with the enactment of this bill, the overall objective is how to make financing and the installation of renewable and energy efficient devices as seamless and effortlessly as possible, a kind of a one-stop shop for the electricity customer. And a key element to do so would be the on-bill financing program, where the electricity customer will make the payments for these devices on their electricity bill. And I want to point out that there was one particular bill that the governor signed on July 11, 2011. The governor had the foresight not to veto the on-bill investigation and signed into law, which is Act 204, which directed the PUC to begin the investigation on the viability of an on-bill financing program. And this past February, the PUC determined, it completed its investigation and determined that an on-bill financing program was indeed viable. And with DBED and many private sector partners, we began in putting together the mechanics of this program and hope to have it up and running by the first quarter of 2014. And so that's the second part that will really combine two innovative programs together, the financing part and the program execution, and again, to make it as seamless as possible for the electricity customer. And through the collaboration of the various departments, with the help of the utilities, both the HECO companies and Kauai Island Utility Cooperative, with so many people from the private sector. I think it's a total of 27 volunteers that are working on this, on the working group for the on-bill program. These two innovative programs will be married. Thank you.
Terrific. Before I do the signing then, is there anybody care to share a thought or two? Or have we pretty much bludgeoned everybody into anticipation of the signing? Okay?
Get it done.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, here we go. Done. Now, let's, if nobody wants to speak about it, the least you can do is come and get your pictures taken with it so we can immortalize it. So let's get the legislators up first. Get this chair back. No, you stay near me then, Richard. And who else is here? Angus is here. Yeah. Richard, can you put that under there?
You know it's a good bill, like I gave him.
Yeah. Mike couldn't be here? Mike couldn't make it?
No, he's out of state.
Oh, okay. Okay, here we go.
Okay, right here. 1, 2, and 3.